I'm going to introduce you now and tell you a little bit about our keynote speaker, Kamilah Marshall. She's a true powerhouse of talent and versatility. So Kamilah carved out a unique and dynamic path through the worlds of Broadway, pop, film, and television. She performed in iconic productions like Rent, The Lion King, and was part of the original Broadway cast of Hairspray. Since 2012, she's toured the globe as a member of Taylor Swift's vocal ensemble, the Starlights, performing on the Red Tour, the 1989 tour, the Reputation tour, and most recently, the Eras tour, along with iconic broadcast performances, including Saturday Night Live and the Grammys. And I do want to say that while on the Eras tour, she earned her degree with Berklee Online. So, yeah. Yes, just incredible. Her collaborations read like a who's who of modern music. She's performed with Bette Midler, Mary J. Blige, Mick Jagger, Justin Timberlake. The list goes on and on. Kamilah is a gifted singer-songwriter and has written chart-topping songs, including one that just hit #1 in Japan. And very proud recent alumna, continues to evolve as an artist, and her journey exemplifies resilience, authenticity, and a relentless pursuit of artistic excellence. So you're in for a treat. Please join me in welcoming 2025 Berklee Onsite keynote speaker, Kamilah Marshall.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Berklee Onsite. I'm really glad to see all of your faces today. Thank you. And thank you, Debbie, for that introduction. It's true. Debbie was the first class I opened, and I will tell you, when you decide to apply and you get accepted to Berklee and you get that very first email that says your class is unlocked, you all know what I'm talking about. There's this kind of, oh crap, what have I done? And I don't know how to do any of this. You know, you're shaking your head. And it was like, I don't know how to go to college. I certainly don't know how to go to college online. And so Debbie's was the first class I opened. She was the first live class I took, and she just had such patience and such care with all of us and took all of our questions. And it was just really comforting to know that I was going to be okay. So I'm really grateful, and she continued to support me throughout the journey and being on tour when I was kind of going crazy doing both. So thank you, Debbie. Thank you to Berklee for having me, and thank you all for being here. When you get asked to do such an honor to be a spokesperson for Berklee and come and speak to all of you, the first thought for everyone is always, what am I going to talk about? And Debbie was saying, oh, just talk about your journey and the things you've learned and lessons you've learned along the way. And I'm like, okay, great. So what am I going to talk about? And I had some late nights. I had a lot of overthinking. I tried to write a speech a la TED Talk, and none of it worked. And it got to like last week, and I just decided I'm going to speak from my heart. I have about 4 bullet points that I would love for you to hear and know and take away. Take what you want, leave the rest, and I will share my journey and my heart throughout. So I hope that's okay with you. Thank you. So a little bit about me. I'm from Orange County, California. And hey, Orange County. I was a very shy kid, and I was afraid of everything, literally everything. Experiences, animals, people. I would always cry, and my parents really weren't having that. So they did their best to try to unfear me and unshy me. They put me in everything from sports to talent shows and dance classes, and they were hoping that I would kind of gravitate to one thing and pick one thing. And I can remember the first talent show that I was in, I was about 6 years old, and I was singing a song that was probably terribly inappropriate for a 6-year-old to sing. It was by the Pointer Sisters, and that was my mother's favorite group. So it was the songs that I knew growing up. And so I get in this talent show, and I wanted to do it. And I get out on the stage. They say my name. The music starts playing, and I am looking at all of the people as they are looking at me. And I'm thinking, there's a lot more of them than there is of me. This is terrifying. The music's still playing. I cry and I run off stage. And so my mother is on the side of the stage, and she said this phrase that she always said to me: "Are you okay? You don't have to do this. I'm not making you do this." And she always wanted me to know that choosing this was my choice and not her choice. And so, "Are you okay? I'm not making you do this," And I said, "No, I want to do this." And so she said, "Okay." And so they would call my name again, "Bring her out again," and everybody would roar, and I'd get out there, and the music would play, and I'd get through it. I don't know that I was great, but I would get through it. And so that kind of happened for years to come. I always wanted to do it and didn't really know how to get rid of this fear, but I kept showing up. And when I was 11, there was a show called Babes. It was an original written musical, and it was community theater. So this was my intro to community theater. And the show was written about the actors, Judy Garland. It was like a young Judy Garland, young Mickey Rooney, young Lana Turner, and I got cast as a young Lena Horne. And if you don't know Lena Horne, she was a black actress in the 1930s, 40s, and breaking barriers for actresses, black actresses then. And I knew about her, my family, she was in our household. So to play young Lena Horne was the most thrilling opportunity. And so it was about a week before opening night. My mom's picking me up. The director says, "Hey, so we have a little issue here with the song. She's not really cutting it." I had lines, I had one song. She's not really cutting it. So what we're going to do is give her another chance. We're going to have her audition to sing the song. And if she auditions well, we can move forward. And if not, we'll talk about it, at the time. So my audition was on Tuesday. This was a Saturday night. So Sunday, I spent all day practicing. Monday, I go to school, I come home, I practice some more. Tuesday, I go to school, and then it's time for rehearsal. So in that time, I'm not really better. I just am singing the song over and over again. I'm not taking voice lessons. I'm just an 11-year-old kid who wants to be in a show. So Tuesday I show up, and they set the scene. I get on the stage. It's dark out there, kind of like how it is. And so out there is the director, the musical director, the choreographer, all the management. And 11-year-old me gets on the stage, and I sing this song that was titled, "What's the Matter with Me?" I know. And so I stand there and I sing this song, "What's the Matter with Me?" And I finish, and I hear, kind of from the darkness, I hear the director's voice say, "That's it. It's not good. You're not good enough." And I immediately started crying. And my mom comes in, they call her in, and he says, "Okay, so here's the thing. She's not cutting it. And we have two options. We can have her stay in the show. She can say all of her lines, and then we'll give the song to someone else, or she can not do the show." And so then my mom says, "Can you give us a minute?" And we walk outside, and she's pissed. I'm 11, she's pissed. And she says what she always says: "Are you okay? You don't have to do this. I'm not making you do this." And of course I say, "I want to do it." So I press through and I do it. I do the show, I say the lines, and every night when it came to the song, I stood in the wings and I watched this girl. Her name was Yvette. I don't know her last name. I'm not mad at Yvette. It's not her fault. But I stood in the wings and I watched Yvette sing this song. And what's interesting is, just in thinking about what I wanted to share with you all today, I was trying to think there was probably some lesson in it the perseverance, the sticking to it, probably learning from her as she was singing the song, doing what I couldn't do. But at the time, I didn't realize it was a lesson. I think I just wanted to be doing what I love to do, you know? A limiting belief at that time was born, you know, an insecurity was born. You tell somebody they're not good enough, I believed it. And yet I still wanted to do this. And now I just had to figure out how. So I got put into dance classes. I went to a performing arts studio. I learned to sing and dance more. And then I went to a performing arts high school where I got to do it all day, every day, which was very exciting for me. Fun fact, in 8th grade, which was 2 years later, they did Babes again. I got cast as young Lena Horne, and I did get to sing the song. So that's a very good full circle moment for me. But I think it was just figuring out how to navigate what I loved to do in my heart with this limiting belief sitting on my shoulder. And I still don't quite understand how I did it, except to say I think that phrase, "you're not good enough," kind of became a fuel for me, or like a secret weapon, because there was something in me that decided I had something to prove to him, I had something to prove to myself, I don't know, but they were walking hand in hand, the insecurity and that fire. So that's just something to keep with you. And, you know, I thought about what is the overall theme of today, and I think it is unscripted, because I think a lot of my journey has been completely unscripted and unexpected. So that, I didn't say the title, but that's the title. Navigating that, I went through high school, and when I got to my senior year, I told my parents I knew that I didn't want to go to college. And they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "I know, it's crazy, but I'm not going." And they were terribly supportive of it, and I'm grateful. They were terribly supportive. But they said, "We have to make a deal." And the deal was, if ever I were out of work for at least a year or more, I go to college. And I think I was delusional enough to think, okay, but I'm always going to be working, so okay. And so we actually shook on it and made the deal, and I graduated high school 6 months early to go on a tour. It was a bus and truck tour called Heartstrings, and it was AIDS awareness through music. And we traveled all over. I made $500 a week, and it was the best $500 a week I made for 6 months. I came home with $0. So my parents were devastated, but I had a lot of clothes. And so in that, I took this limiting belief, right? And I was insecure and didn't think I was the best singer, but I wanted to do this. So I had to figure out, what is the best way for me to do this? And I thought, what am I great at? Because I can lean into what I'm great at, why I build up what I'm not so great at, right? It's kind of like that look over here kind of thing. If you look over here and see this, maybe you won't notice that I'm not the best. And I was great at being myself. I was great at being myself. So the first thing I would want to tell any of you here is to be yourself. And it sounds cliche, and I really hate saying it, because everybody's like, "Bitch, just be yourself. Just go ahead and be yourself." But I do think there is something to being yourself, but knowing who that is. Knowing who that self is terribly important. And it doesn't come overnight. It comes through experiences. It comes through connection. And it comes through school and learning. And I think I realized that this was the key, because I had 2 instances in an audition. The first was I was auditioning for a feature film. It was to be a huge feature film. And I was auditioning for an under 5. And if you don't know what an under 5 is, it's a character that has 5 lines or less. I think my character had 3 lines. And so I have this audition, I get a call back, and they say the call back is with the director. And it was on the movie lot. So I'm driving, young me is driving to the movie lot. I'm so excited, terribly nervous. And the director calls me in, very famous director. And he invites me in the office and he's, how are you doing today? I say, fine. I'm standing with my paper and I'm ready to read the lines. And I'm like, so am I reading? And he's like, have a seat. And I'm like, okay, so we're sitting, okay. So then I sit and then I'm like, so should I start? Do I start or do you start? I'm nervous. And he goes, tell me about yourself. And I go, oh, okay. And so I do the normal slate that's like, hi, my name's Kamilah. My agent is, da-da-da. And he's like, no, tell me about you. And I'm like, okay. And we proceed to just have a conversation. It's me and this famous director just talking. And to be honest, I can't tell you if I remember ever reading the lines. And I got the job. And not only did I get the job, but there was a table read, and a table read is when all the fancy people with the parts come and they sit around the table and they're reading the script. And I got invited to the table read. The under 5 never gets invited to the table read. And so, thank you so much. That's exactly how I felt. And so I'm at the table and we're going around and he says, I'm such and such, I'm the director. I'm famous person number 1 and I'm the lead. I'm playing this. And they're all saying their names of their characters. I'm famous person number 2 and I'm playing this person. And they're all going around and my head is exploding at the talent in this room. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it gets to me and I say, hi, I'm Kamilah and I'm playing Girl in Flower Shop. Like, I didn't even have a name and I was invited and I was the only one there that was invited. It was insane to me. And then I have my experience, I shoot the scene, and then I'm invited to the wrap party, and all the famous people are like, you were so great. And I'm like, what is happening? How am I here? Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, I got this job not because I was the best person to read 3 lines. You know what I mean? Anybody could do that. I had a conversation with him, and this man liked me. He just liked me. I think of another experience when I was in an audition and I had to dance, and I was pretty good at dancing, like jazz, musical theater kind of dancing, and then we have to do a ballet combination. Pretty sure you can look at me right now and tell I'm not a ballerina. So I learn it as best I can, and I'm in a room full of dancers who are, all Misty Copelands, if you will. Then we have to do them in groups of 5, and I do it, and I'm not great, and I know I'm not great, and I'm kind of just getting through it and just smiling through it. And then when we're done, I kind of move to the side like, I hope nobody saw me, even though everybody saw me. And so the last group goes, and it was groups of 5, there were 2 people, and there was space for 3 more people. And the director says, does anybody else want another chance? Does anybody want to go again? Somebody's like, oh, I'll go again. Anybody else feel like they messed up and they just want to give it another try? And another person comes. Now there's 4 people, there's room for 1 more, and there's me trying to be invisible. And he says, does anybody else want it? Kamilah, would you like to go? Sure, yeah, sure. Thought you'd never ask. And so I go again and I do the ballet combination the same as I did before. Not great. And I got the job. And when I was in rehearsal, I had asked him, I was like, now let's talk about the ballet combination. You do know I was terrible. And he said, I loved your spirit. You said yes to go again. I loved your spirit. And I'm like, that's just like something about you. That's just like something you bring to the room. It wasn't because of my talent. And I think there's a lot of times that I was thinking talent matters, but there are many times that who I was and who I showed up as mattered way more. And that is something that I would love you to take away, being yourself in the room, being yourself when you are connecting in a studio, when you're having write sessions, whatever you do in a boardroom, or just even meeting somebody at a coffee shop goes a really long way, showing up fully. It's not about being perfect, it's just about being you. And I think that was probably one of the greatest things that I learned So this next one is a big one. It's expect the unexpected. How many of you have heard that before? Expect the unexpected. You've probably heard it in different ways. Be prepared. Stay on your toes. If you watch Big Brother, Julie Chen says it all the time to the contestants when they're about to change up the show. Expect the unexpected. And this one is really important because I think we all have dreams and we all have a vision of how it should go or how they're going to happen. We all plan. I know there's like manifesting now is really big, and so you're calling in the version of how it's going to go. And I will tell you that most of my journey has been completely unexpected. Not at all the way I thought it would go. I always thought, first and foremost, I was going to be a TV and film star. And that came out of feeling like I wasn't a good enough singer. So I was like, oh, I'll just do this. I'm funny. I have a personality. This will be great. And I ended up getting 3 Broadway shows where I was singing every night, 8 shows a week. Gosh, you guys are nice. Thank you. I get these shows, and by the time I'm in Hairspray, which is the 3rd show I'm in, it was an original Broadway show, so I got to originate a role. We were nominated for, I want to say, 10 Tony nominations, so we were like at the height and on top of the world, and everything was going great. And on Easter Sunday, I get a phone call saying, you have an audition for Bette Midler the very next day. And I'm like, you have to sing, you have to dance, you have to tell a joke. And I'm like, this is crazy. Does everybody know who Bette Midler is? Okay, if you don't, I'm sorry for you. Hocus pocus, I'll say that for those who don't know. Okay. So I knew who Bette Midler was. I was a fan. I knew what a harlot was. Those were her backup singer dancers. I was very excited. It was the next day, and the biggest tragedy of that moment was that I had hot pink hair. I had cut off all my hair. It was very short, and it was hot pink. And my mother was cursing me out on the phone, saying, why do you have that hair? You'll never get this job with that hair. And I'm like, I think we have bigger problems. What am I singing? What am I wearing? It's Bette Midler. So I go to the audition, and I'm thinking, this is not out of my wheelhouse because it's singing and dancing, but it's kind of out of my wheelhouse because I thought I was just going to be on Broadway. Like I was just going to be on Broadway. And so I go to this audition, and I'm singing, I'm dancing. They're putting us in groups. I'm doing harmony with other women. And then I have to tell the joke, which is hilarious because Bette Midler is known for her jokes. So trying to make Bette Midler laugh is like a feat in itself. And there were people who were juggling in the waiting room. There was one girl who had strapped her dog in a dog harness. I was like, what are you doing with that? What's the joke? And so everybody was really, really just kind of going all out. I had 2 very short jokes that I'm not going to tell them. I know that's what you're all thinking. I'm not. I think they might not be appropriate, if you will. But let's say this. I got the job. I did make her laugh. I got the job, and what I know Bette was looking for was personality along with the talent. And so we finished the Tony season. I quit that job. I went into the Bette Midler job, and all of a sudden I was a background singer. And it was kind of like, what's happening with my career? This wasn't in the plan. Expect the unexpected. I then did that for 7.5 years, almost 8 years with Bette, and I learned everything. Working with her was a masterclass. I learned how to be a boss. I learned how to lead a band. I learned how to be a great storyteller through music, through song from Bette Midler. She is one of the best. And so that really changed my life, and it shook up the plan a little bit. So when I was done with that, I thought, well, now what? Because am I a backup singer? Or, 7.5 years is a long time to do this thing. Am I going back to Broadway? What I know, do I do this thing? How do I get jobs as a backup singer? And then I left there, and then I started getting calls. And that goes with the first point, which was be yourself, and knowing who that is, because background singing was who you know. And it was a lot about the hang, someone people wanted to work with and be around. And so I was getting calls. I did one wedding gig. I've only ever done one wedding gig in my life. And that one wedding gig, the drummer worked for somebody named Sergio Mendes. And they were looking for a new singer, and I'm just doing the wedding gig, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, do you know Sergio Mendes? And I'm like, do I? Yes. And I found myself at Sergio Mendes' house with his wife, being given some songs in Portuguese, and they said, go learn these and come back. And I said, but I don't speak Portuguese. And they go learn these and come back. And I was like, oh, that's the audition. And so I went away, I learned that, I got that job. It took me 3 months to learn all of those songs. I went on tour with him for a little bit. And then at some point, I was taking a yoga class one day, and I got a call, and it said, hey, it was a friend of mine who was a musical director, and he said, hey, Taylor Swift needs backup singers. And I was like, okay. And I knew that she was in country music then, and I want to say that my first thought was, does she want them to be black? That was my first thought. That was actually my first thought, because I was raised on some country music, and so I knew that there weren't a lot of black singers in country music then, and so I was kind of like, oh, so is that me, or you calling for recommendations? And he said, no, I don't think she cares. And I said, great. And so I auditioned for that. It was a audition with maybe 20 or so women, and we all did like some singing, some dancing. And at the time, expect the unexpected, at the time it was for 5 months. 5 months has now turned into 14 years. And it's really, really crazy. I never could have expected this. I always say on the last tour, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, I can't even say that this is a dream come true, because it is nothing I ever allowed myself to dream. It's so much bigger, right? And when I say expect the unexpected, I really mean just be here and show up. Hold your fist out like this. Everybody hold a hand out and make a fist and hold it tight. So my mom used to always say, those are your dreams and you're holding on so tight. But if you hold on too tight, nothing else can get in there. You can't, there's no way to get in there. You see what I'm saying? And so there's gotta be an element where you say, I wanna do this and I don't know how it's gonna happen, and I'm open to turning left when everybody's going right. Just remember to keep that. Walking into any kind of small door just makes way for something massive. And every time the unexpected has been absolutely magical for me. So please remember to expect the unexpected. That one is a really good one. And so then I want to speak to the unconventional. And I will start by saying all of us here are taking a bit of an unconventional path, right? School online. If you are 18 to 21, 22, you graduated high school, and most people just went to a brick and mortar, and you chose online. If you were older, in your 40s, 50s, maybe you're transitioning, maybe you quit your job. I was well into this career for me, and we were going on tour, and then COVID happened, and we were all at home, and it was the first time that I wasn't working for a period of time. I didn't quite make a year, but I was thinking, as we all were, what should we be doing? What do you do with this time? Where do you want to go? Also at the time, we weren't sure that live music was going to happen again. That was a very scary time. And my friend who was doing online, she did Hairspray with me and Bette Midler with me. She called and said, I'm applying for Berklee College of Music online. And without hesitation, I said, oh my God, me too. I didn't even know what I was saying. I was like, yes, I'm just saying yes. And it was awesome and kind of confusing because I'm well into this career. I had never wanted to go to college. I had stood before my parents and said, I'm not going to need math to be on Broadway, like a snotty little kid. And there I was saying, yes, I want to do this, and scrambling to get these recommendations. And I got Mark Hopkins as he's great, as an advisor. And he really saved me through this process. And when he's finding out about me and my credits, he's so nice. And then at some point he goes, I gotta ask you a question. You've done this and you've done that. Why do you wanna go to Berklee? What could we be teaching you? And I'm like, are you kidding? Everything. I was at a point where I wanted to have a deeper knowledge of music. I wanted to learn. I've always loved learning. I songwrite, and so I thought, why not boost my songwriting and take that to another level? I had learned music and harmonies by ear, and so I definitely needed ear training and music theory. So I felt like there's a world. We were at our houses and doing studio production at our houses. I needed to learn Logic. I just felt like there was so much to learn, and it was so important, and it felt like the right thing to do. So I was accepted, and I think it was probably the best thing that I have ever done. I was so proud. I just graduated a few weeks ago. I was prouder than I had ever been. There was so much joy. I had so much pride for myself because I like to think, and challenge me if you want to, but I think online is harder, because you are at home and you have to be accountable for your own time management. You have to show up for yourself. When you don't have access to the teacher in real time and you don't know something, you're trying to figure it out on your own. I had lots of tears. My best friend is in the audience today. She can attest to me going, I'm quitting. Like once every semester, some class was like, I'm quitting. I'm not doing this. It's too hard. And I never quit. And life happens. Some of you are probably parents. You have jobs. Like you don't have access to this information. I know for me, I lost my mother during these 4 years of school, and I kept going. And so to get to that graduation day, to get to that ceremony and feel like I did it, it was the best thing I've done. And it was unconventional. It was an unconventional time, and I don't regret it. And so I just am here to encourage you with that unconventional path. Don't let anybody tell you it's too late, or you're behind, or you never can, or why do you want to do that? Because it is there for a reason. Your purpose is there for a reason. And if you want to learn and grow and expand your mind, if only for you, that it is worth it to do. And so I think showing up and saying yes to the opportunity really creates magic. And so with that, I will say, I'm gonna end with whether you're just starting college, whether you're changing careers, reinventing yourself at a crossroads where you don't know to go left or right, just trust your gut. Trust your gut. And remember that my fear, my insecurity is now my testimony. Don't let the limiting beliefs stop you. Don't let those insecurities stop you, because one day, I owe that man, and I am constantly saying thank you, because I do believe if it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't be here. It was that fuel. It was that you're not good enough, and I am. That got me. Thank you. So these points again: be yourself, know yourself, take the time to know yourself, expect the unexpected, don't be afraid of the unconventional path, and say yes to showing up. It's not too late. It's never too late. That's what I will say, because I'm thinking about getting my master's degree like a crazy person. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you. Yeah.
Let's hear it for Kamilah Marshall.